7. Mr. A practicing chartered accountant, is holding securities of XYZ Limited having a face value 900. You hold security in the company. Okay, how many, up to what value you can hold? 0. You or your partner cannot hold anything. Only who can hold? Relative can hold face value 1 lakh. Is appointment valid? Answer is no. So whether Mr. A is qualified, the answer is disqualified. Limit of face value rupees 1 lakh is only for what? Relative. Is only for relative. You cannot hold a single rupee. Okay, next. Mr. P, a practicing chartered accountant. Mr. P, a practicing chartered accountant, and Q, the relative of P. Q, the relative of P, is holding securities having a face value what? 90,000. Your relative holds face value 90,000. Whether P is qualified for being appointed? Yes. The answer I just write as not disqualified. Or you can write it as qualified, both are same. Not disqualified. As relative holds face value not exceeding is less than equal to 1 lakh. Equal to 1 lakh is also fine. Okay, next question, question number 9. Next question, question number 9. RM and Company is an audit firm having partners CAR, CAM. You are two partners, R and M. You are offered a company audit of N Limited, ENN. You are offered an audit of N Limited. Mr. B, a relative of CAR. Mr. B, the relative of CAR, is holding 5,000 shares, face value 10. Okay, the relative is holding 5,000 shares, face value what? 10, market value 150. Market value 150. This is of use or no use? No use. This is of no use. Okay, 5,000 shares, face value 10. 5,000 into 10 what? 50,000. Relative holds face value 50,000. Allowed, not allowed? Allowed. So that's fine. So whether RM and Company is disqualified for appointment, the answer is what? Not disqualified. Not disqualified, as relative holds face value not exceeding 1 lakh. Okay, now suppose relative was holding face value more than 1 lakh. If relative was holding face value more than 1 lakh, that partner disqualified whose relative was holding, and one partner disqualified, firm is also disqualified. Okay, next, Ram and Hanuman Associates. Ram and Hanuman Associates. Take this as important. Ram and Hanuman Associates. A chartered accountant in practice has been appointed as statutory auditor of Krishna. Ram and Hanuman Associates appointed as statutory auditor of Krishna. Mr. Hanuman holds 100 equity shares of Shiva. Okay, Mr. Hanuman holds 100 equity shares of Shiva, subsidiary of Krishna. So can I say your partner? Hanuman is what? One of the partners? Okay, so one of the partner is holding 100 equity shares. Okay, how many shares partner can hold? Nothing. Partner cannot hold anything. Now, he is not holding in the company, he is holding in subsidiary. Okay, not okay? No, you should not hold in the company or its subsidiary or its holding or its associate. Anywhere. You should not be holding. As a partner is holding, that partner disqualified, firm is disqualified. So answer is disqualified. Disqualified, as Partner holds shares in which company? Group company. You cannot hold in the company or its subsidiary anywhere. Okay, 11th one is important. This was a question asked in this May 19 exam, old syllabus. It was not in new syllabus, it was in old syllabus CA final. Okay, why a practicing CA? Why a practicing CA has been appointed as auditor of Z Limited on 12th June 18. Okay, you are appointed as auditor of Z Limited on which date? 12th June 18. For the year ended on 31st March 19, the following persons have done transaction in the securities of Z Limited. You are appointed as auditor of Z. Following people have done transaction. Daughter of Y. Okay, daughter of Y. She has purchased securities on 10th September 18. Can I say after your appointment? After your appointment, she bought face value what? Okay, so she bought a face value of 45,000. Okay, husband of daughter of Y. Okay, husband's daughter. Sorry, daughter's husband. Daughter's husband. Is he covered under the word relative? Yes. Son, son's wife, daughter, daughter's husband. Okay, he purchased security, face value what? 90,000, 10th December. And all the above securities were sold on what date? 10th March. All the above securities were sold on 10th March. For what rate? It doesn't matter. They are sold on 10th March. Okay, now just pay attention. Daughter bought on 10th September. 10th September face value is 45. But husband of daughter bought on 10th December. 10th December face value what? 90. 45 daughter is having. Husband of daughter is having 90. Total face value became 135. Total face value became 135. Now 10th December it exceeded 1 lakh. When did it exceed 1 lakh? 10 December. See, earlier daughter bought, it was only 45. It was not exceeding 1 lakh. When it exceeded 1 lakh? 10th December it exceeded 1 lakh. Now 10 December when it exceeds 1 lakh, corrective action needs to be taken within 60 days. Yada relative holding exceeds 1 lakh, corrective action can be taken within 60 days. So okay, 10 December say 60 days, I make it simple 2 months. So it is 10th January, 10th February. Corrective action needs to be taken till 10th February. But when are they sold? 10th March. Was the corrective action taken within 60 days? No. Corrective action was not taken within 60 days. You become disqualified. Okay. Discuss the implications of above on appointment of Mr. Y. So Mr. Y becomes what? Disqualified. But from which date? After 60 days from 10th December. Okay, now daughter of Y purchased face value 45,000. Husband of daughter Y purchased of again 90,000. Aggregate value. Now see, that's why I said it's all relatives together. The aggregate value of holding exceeds the limit of 1 lakh, and further corrective action is also not taken within a grace period of 60 days. They sold it off on 10th March. 10th March is not 60 days. 10th March is not 60 days. Corrective action is not taken within 60 days. Yes or no? Shall I move it? Shall I move it? Okay. Anywhere if you're stuck up, please stop me at the same time. Okay. Next question. Question number 12. ABC are partners of firm, ABC and company. Now 12 and 13 are kind of related. Very small, minute changes there. In 12th and 13th, pay attention. ABC are partners. All are CA holding COP. Fine. Mr. A holds 100 equity shares having a face value 1000. Okay, who holds? Mr. A. Okay, can I say A is one of the partners? Okay, A holds. A disqualified? Firm disqualified. A disqualified? Firm disqualified. So first question, can appointment be made in the name of firm? Answer is what? No. And I write as Mr. A holds shares, comma, Mr. A is disqualified. Mr. A is disqualified, and so the firm is also disqualified. Correct? A disqualified, firm disqualified. A disqualified, firm disqualified. Now, second question, can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? Can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? A disqualified, firm disqualified. Other partners in their individual capacity may be, may not be. Depends on provision. Depends on provision. Now someone said, sir, wo partner was disqualified. Na, partner kiska? Partner of officer or employee was disqualified. Who is officer or employee? No one. Is A officer or employee? No, A holds shares. So this is not a case of partner of officer or employee. Don't try to correlate that B and C point. Here the question is on D point. Tell me whether B and C individually can be appointed. Okay, now if you see clause number D, you, your relative or your partner should not hold any security in the company or group. Okay, you, your relative or your partner. Okay, for B and C, who is the partner? For B and C, who is the partner? A. B and C should not hold, their relative should not hold their partner. Who is the partner of B and C? A. A is holding. So B and C are disqualified. B and C are disqualified. You should not hold, your relative should not hold, your partner should not hold. B and C ka partner is A, partner is holding, so you are disqualified. So can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? Answer is no. As partner of Mr. B and Mr. C, that is Mr. A holds shares. Partner of B and C, that is Mr. A, hold share. You should not hold, your relative should not hold, your partner should not hold. If your partner is holding, you are disqualified. Okay, third question. Mr. B is a partner in BDF. Mr. B is a partner in BDF. Can BDF be appointed as auditor? Okay, B is disqualified. Who is disqualified? B. Why B is disqualified? B ka partner A. So B disqualified, firm disqualified. So BDF is disqualified. The answer is no. As Mr. B's partner that is Mr. A holds shares, comma, Mr. B is disqualified. And so the firm BDF and Company is also disqualified. B disqualified, the firm where B is a partner, that is also disqualified. One partner disqualified, firm is disqualified. First question was whether ABC and Company can be appointed. A only holds, A disqualified, firm disqualified. Now, whether B and C can be appointed, provision says you should not hold, your relative should not hold, your partner should not hold. Who is the partner of B and C? A. Partner is holding, so B and C are disqualified. Now, B disqualified, so B is also working in BDF. BDF is also disqualified. Now, question. Can appointment be made in personal name of D? Can appointment be made in personal name of D? Can appointment be made in personal name of D? Okay, see the provision. You should not hold, your relative should not hold, your partner should not hold. Okay, whether D holds? No. Whether D's relative holds? Okay, whether D's partner, who is partner of D? B and F. Whether B holds? No. I am not holding, my relative doesn't hold, my partner doesn't hold. Who holds? My partner's partner. They say you, your relative, your partner, not partner's partner. So whether D can be appointed, answer is yes. As Mr. D, his relatives and his partners does not hold any security. I write in bracket, who holds? Partner's partner holds. You, your relative or your partner doesn't hold. Who is holding? Partner's partner is holding. That's fine. Okay, this was your question number 12. In your question number 12, one of the partner was holding security. Now, going to question 13. There's a minor change. A doesn't hold. In earlier question, who was holding? A. Now, A's relative holds. Earlier question, who was holding? A. Now, in this question, who is holding? A's relative. ABC are a firm, ABC and company. All partners are CA holding COP. A's relative holds 100 shares, face value 1,01,000. A's relative is holding face value 1,01,000. Can I say exceeding 1,00,000? Okay, A's relative holds face value 1,01,000, exceeding 1,00,000. Can I say A disqualified? A disqualified, the firm disqualified. A disqualified, the firm disqualified. The first question, can appointment be made in the name of firm? Can appointment be made in the name of firm? Answer is no. As A's relative holds security exceeding rupees 1,00,000, comma, Mr. A is disqualified, and so the firm is also disqualified. And so the firm is also disqualified. Okay, second question. Can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? Can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? I told you one partner disqualified, firm disqualified, other partners in individual capacity may be, may not be, depending on provision. Can appointment be made in personal name of B and C? Okay, B and C should not hold, their relative should not hold, their partner should not hold. Okay, whether B and C hold share? No. Whether B and C ka partner hold share? No. A doesn't hold, no. And whether B and C ka relative? No, their relative doesn't hold. Who holds? Partner's relative. You should not hold, your relative should not hold, your partner should not hold. Your partner's relative holds, that is fine. So whether appointment can be done in the personal name of B and C, answer is yes, as Mr. B and C, their relatives and their partners does not hold any security. Okay, who holds? Partner's relative holds. Partner's relative holds. You don't hold, your relative doesn't hold, your partner doesn't hold, your partner's relative hold, that's fine. Next question, can B is also a partner in BDF. Can we appoint BDF? Yeah, B is not disqualified. The firm is also not disqualified. The answer will be yes. Okay, this was illustration number 13. Shall I move it? Shall I move it? Next. Yes, please. Again, please. Gone. No. You can't give the report only. You are immediately disqualified. Your partner. So, see, everybody knows this thing. It's not like the partner will never be buying the shares. Relative by mistake also. Now see, they've considered a very closed family members. They're not considered your uncle, aunts or grandparents or grandchildren. It's kind of very close. Father, mother, brother, sister. So at least you'll be talking with them once in 60 days. That is what they assume. So they've given relative acquires, immediately you're not disqualified. Then you become disqualified after 60 days. And that's a very close relative. So that is kind of understandable. And again, you might have talked with your kind of this first family that wherever I am auditor, you are all not allowed to buy any securities over there. So once you would have definitely told them. After the audit report is given, then you acquire any basically securities, then it's fine. So that report is valid. But now see, appointment is not done for actually one year. The appointment is done for 5. So that report is valid, but remaining, now you are gone. Shall I move it? Okay. Next, question number 14. Question number 14. Mr. B, a partner of Mr. A. Mr. B, a partner of Mr. A, held shares face value rupees 1 lakh in DEF. Okay, face value 1 lakh, not exceeding 1 lakh. Partner cannot hold a single rupee. But he sold off within 45 days. Not allowed. 60 days is only for relative. The answer is disqualified. Partner cannot hold any security. And I just write one more thing. 60 days for corrective action. 60 days for corrective action is only when relatives holding exceeds face value rupees 1 lakh. It's only when relatives holding exceeds face value 1 lakh. It's only for relatives, not for partners. Mark, this question is important. This was a good one. Okay, 15th question. So I tell you, till now 14 questions we have done, but hardly 2-3 were kind of good and important, which you might feel, okay, I need to revise again. Other questions are kind of not to be revised again. Easily you can answer it. So make sure you mark the questions which you want to read again and again. Now, would auditor be considered as indebted? Question is, would you be considered as what? Indebted. Question is not, would you be disqualified? Okay, indebtedness is allowed up to how much? 5 lakh. Up to 5 lakh indebtedness is allowed, you are not disqualified. But question is not on disqualification. Question is, would you be considered indebted? What do you mean by word indebted? Liable to pay. It's a liability. Your indebtedness is nothing but your liability. Okay, if he's given a normal credit period for goods, he's given a normal credit period for goods in which he is an auditor. Now, just tell me one thing. Imagine I'm an auditor of Vodafone Idea Limited. There's a company named as Vodafone Idea Limited, and I have a postpaid connection of Vodafone Idea Limited. I have a postpaid connection of Vodafone Idea Limited, and postpaid customers pay on monthly basis. So March month bill I'll pay in April. Now that facility they give to me, they give to everyone. So can I say it's a normal credit period given to everyone, including me? So I have March month bill which I'll pay in April. Am I considered to be indebted? I have a March month bill which is pending. I'll pay when? April. Everybody pays like that only. The March month bill I'll pay in April. Would I be considered as indebted to them? Yeah. I'm not telling disqualified. I'm telling indebted. Yeah, you are indebted to them. You have to pay them March month bill. So would you be considered as indebted? Answer is yes. Question is not would you be disqualified. Question is would you be indebted? Yeah, I'm indebted. I have to pay March month bill to you that is pending. The March month bill I'll pay in April. So am I indebted? Answer is yes. Okay, if you recover your fees in advance, I tell you my audit fees is 2 lakh payable in advance. Yeah, practically nobody pays in advance. But if I say my audit fees is 2 lakh payable in advance, you paid my full audit fee in advance. Okay, am I considered indebted to you? If you recover anything in advance, are you indebted? Okay, what is the journal entry when you receive fees in advance? Bank account debit 2. Bank account debit 2. Income received in advance. Okay, where do you show income received in advance? Under sales? No, liability. If you show it as liability, you are indebted. What is indebted? You are having a liability. Liability to pay cash or liability to provide service. Anything. Liability to pay cash or liability to provide service. So if you recover your fees in advance, are you indebted? Answer is yes, as it would appear as liability. As it would appear as liability in balance sheet. Next, if you recover traveling and other expense in advance. Now, if you recover fees in advance, it's bank account debit to income received in advance, it's your liability. If you recover traveling advance, like suppose a client is not in Bangalore, the client is in Mysore. Client is not in Bangalore, client is in Mysore. Can I say we have to send a team to Mysore? So say 4 or 5 people will go from Bangalore to Mysore, so they will stay in hotel over there, so hotel accommodation, plus going over there, cab expenses, etc. For that we took advance from them. We took 50,000 advance for what? Traveling and accommodation over there, not towards my fees. I took 50,000 rupees advance for that purpose. Am I indebted to them? Am I indebted to them? Okay, I get money for traveling purpose, advance received for traveling. What's the journal entry? Bank account debit to advance received for traveling. Where do I show advance received for traveling? Liability. If I show it as liability, I am indebted. So whether it is for traveling purpose, it doesn't make any difference. Answer is yes. Again, as it would appear as liability in balance sheet. See, currently you can be indebted up to what? 5 lakh. So it's fine. Nowadays we take advance because we are allowed to take up to 5 lakh. I tell you, under old Companies Act, under Companies Act 1956, if you are indebted for amount exceeding 1,000, you are disqualified. If you are indebted for amount exceeding what? 1,000. So none of the auditor used to take advance for anything. Reason, see, 1,000 rupees what? Nothing now. So if I take advance for 1,000, I get disqualified earlier. So what we used to do is, either we used to tell the client only to book the hotel. Client only will book the hotel, they will only pay. Or we pay first and then we take a reimbursement. Reimbursement it is not indebtedness because I have paid and then I collect. It was a receivable which I received. It doesn't appear as a liability. Advance will appear as a liability. But nowadays up to 5 lakh you take it, that is fine. Next, if he recovers fees on progressive basis, what is progressive? As and when work is done. So what is your progressive basis? As and when work is done. 30% work done, I collect 30% money from you. If I collect that 30% money from you, would it appear as my liability? What is the entry? Bank account debit to income. Reason is 30% work is already done. It will appear as my income. If it appears as my income, would I be considered as indebted? Answer is no, as it would appear as income. Not liability. Okay, the question was, would you be considered indebted? Should I move it? Make sure you're constantly writing. If you write, you also will not feel bored. Okay, question number 16. B owes 5 lakh 1 to C. Okay, you owe how much rupee? 5 lakh 1. Can I say exceeding 5 lakh? Is the appointment valid? Yes, no? You owe 5 lakh 1 rupee to some company and you are appointed as auditor over there. Is your appointment valid? Yes, no? You owe 5 lakh 1 rupee to C Limited, of which he is an auditor. Is your appointment valid? No, you are indebted for amount exceeding 5 lakh. So is your appointment valid? Answer is no. Okay, will it make any difference if the advance was taken for traveling? If advance was taken for traveling, 5 lakh 1, still you are disqualified. So I just write over here, disqualified as indebtedness exceeds rupees 5 lakh. Now there was another question. Would it make any difference if it was basically for traveling? So even if the advance was taken for meeting traveling expense, his appointment is not valid, because in such case also he will be indebted to the company. Then also his appointment is not valid. In such case also he will be considered as indebted to the company. Okay, so mark this 16th as important. Only thing is traveling expense point. Okay, 17th. X, a CA in practice, is a statutory auditor of MNO Limited. X, a CA in practice, is a statutory auditor of MNO Limited. He purchased a car from company under hire purchase scheme. You purchase a car from the company under hire purchase. Now question, you did a chapter on hire purchase in intermediate. Okay, whenever I buy an asset on hire purchase, car, whenever I'm buying an asset on hire purchase, do I record asset in my book? Whenever I purchase an asset on hire purchase, when I buy something on hire purchase, I get the possession. I get what? Legal ownership will be transferred upon payment of last installment. I have the possession, car is with me, but legally I'll become owner when? Last installment. So when I purchase a car on hire purchase, do I record car as an asset in my book? Yes, no? Answer is yes. Accounting under hire purchase is based on substance over legal form. So legally you are not the legal owner, but substance wise you bought the car. Substance wise you bought the car. It's not like you rented a car. You have bought it. There's no conditions apply. Would they tell you, don't drive my car above 80? That is your car only. It is actually a financing arrangement. Your hire purchase is kind of which arrangement? Financing. You're just paying it in installments. Legal ownership is not transferred so that they have a right of repossession. Legal ownership is not transferred so that they have a right of repossession. Okay, so as per substance over legal form, when I buy a car on hire purchase, do I record car as an asset? Yes. Okay, what's the journal entry when I buy an asset on hire purchase? Asset account debit to hire vendor. Asset account debit to hire vendor. And same day I pay something. Down payment. When I pay down payment, it's hire vendor account debit to bank. Okay, the first, asset to hire vendor. Asset to hire vendor. Now that entry is done at what price? I tell you now, car if I am buying, say there will be something is, if you buy in cash, you have to pay something different. If you buy by installment, you have to pay something different. So there is one cash price plus interest makes it as HP price. So car account debit to hire vendor at which price? Cash price. Asset is always recorded at which price? Cash price, because extra which you are paying is not for asset, extra is for late payment. Extra is not for asset, it is for time. As you pay late, you are paying interest. Interest is not for asset, interest is for time. Okay, so we record asset at cash price. Fine. Now they're telling you bought a car on hire purchase, the cash down price is nothing but the cash price. Cash price of the car is what? 8 lakh, and initial payment of 25% was paid upon signing the agreement. Okay, 25% of 8 lakh, 2 lakh. 8 lakh car account debit to vendor. But out of 8, how much did we pay? 2. How much is still pending? 6. We are indebted for 6 lakhs. We are indebted for 6 lakh. It exceeds 5 lakh. You become disqualified. Okay, the question is, the balance 6 lakh you are paying in 24 monthly installment. Is X disqualified to act as an auditor? The answer is what? Disqualified. As indebtedness exceeds rupees 5 lakh. Now in our question it is rupees 8 lakh minus rupees 2 lakh down payment. So it is 6 lakhs. Fine, this was 17th, 18th. 18th, mark it as important. Market is important. Mr. A was appointed as auditor to audit the accounts for 5 years. And now when you are appointed, in the AGM held on 16/8/07, you're appointed on 16/8/07. Now when they appoint you, at the time of appointment, you should not be disqualified. At the time of appointment. See, before that I was disqualified, that's fine. Before I had a share, but I know now they will appoint me. So what did I do? I sold the share. On the date of appointment, you should not be disqualified, and later, throughout the period of appointment, you should not be. On the date of appointment, throughout the period of appointment, you should not be disqualified. Okay, now, Mr. A had an indebtedness of 6 lakh. Mr. A had an indebtedness of what? 6 lakh. On which date? 147. When did they appoint you? 16/8/7. Don't see the period which you are auditing. You will audit from 14 to 147 to 31st March 12. That is not to be seen. Period of audit is different. Period of appointment is different. You are appointed at AGM. You are appointed when? AGM. AGM happens in June, July, August. So you are appointed in August. Doesn't mean you start audit from August. You will start audit from April only. Appointment is always done at AGM. We'll come to this point again under your section 139 tomorrow. As of now, you are appointed on 16/8. Before 16/8, you were indebted for what? 6 lakhs. Upon learning he might be appointed as auditor, he repaid the amount. On 14/8. Okay, when you are appointed? 16/8. On which date you repay? 14/8. On the date of appointment, are you disqualified? No. So is the appointment valid? Answer is yes, or I just write down as not disqualified. The relevant date, now see clearly written, the relevant date for reckoning the disqualification is the date of appointment. Before you are appointed, you are disqualified, but at the time of appointment, you are made good. Like you are indebted, you paid it back. So on the date of appointment, you are not disqualified. You should not be disqualified on the date of appointment and throughout the period of appointment. Period of audit is different. Period of appointment is different. Appointment happens at AGM, July, August. But you are not starting audit from July, August. You will start audit from that April itself. Next, company has given a guarantee. Company has given a guarantee on behalf of Mr. A to bank. It's company given guarantee on behalf of Mr. A to bank. So it's actually a bank has given a loan. Bank has given a loan to CA Mr. A. Bank has given a loan to CA Mr. A. There's a company which has given guarantee to bank on your behalf. Okay, now bank has given a loan to CA Mr. A. Company gave a guarantee to bank on your behalf. First question, are you indebted to the company? CA Mr. A, are you indebted to the company? Okay, you are indebted to bank. So you are not indebted to the company. So are you indebted to the company? No. So that indebtedness wala clause doesn't come. You are indebted to bank. Okay, have you given guarantee to the company for the debt of third person? Have you given guarantee to the company? No. Company gave guarantee on my behalf to someone else. See, what was disqualified? If you are indebted to the company or group, you are not indebted to the company or group. That is gone. You have not given a guarantee to the company or group. Company is giving guarantee on your behalf to someone. Actually, this does not fall under any disqualification. This does not fall under any disqualification. Are you disqualified? No. But now there's a guidance note on independence of auditor. There's what? Guidance note on independence of auditor issued by ICAI. Now guidance notes are only for your guidance. If you see, there was chapter number 1, auditing standards, statements and guidance note. Guidance note on independence of auditor is there. Now guidance note on independence of auditor says, many time as per the law you are not disqualified. Many time as per the law you are not disqualified. But if you feel your independence is getting affected, you should not accept such audit. Now, if my independence is getting affected, I should not accept such audit, even though I am not disqualified as per law. Now tell me one thing. Company gave a guarantee on your behalf to bank. Company gave a guarantee on your behalf to bank. Has company done some favors on you? Yeah, if company has done some favors on you, they may also ask for some favors in future. They might say, small frauds allow. So now, if you feel your independence is getting affected, if you feel I'm very professional, I'll not be affected, then you continue. You can take the audit. But if you feel your independence is getting affected, then don't take. But this is as per the guidance note. If I answer strictly as per Companies Act, are you disqualified? No. So answer is not disqualified. You are not indebted to company. You have not given a guarantee to the company. So as per Companies Act, auditor should not have given a guarantee. Auditor should not have given a guarantee to the company for the debt of third person. Yahan pe who is giving guarantee? Company is giving guarantee on your behalf. But as per the guidance note on independence of auditor, if independence is affected, he should not accept appointment. Okay, question number 20, mark it as important. Question number 20, mark it as important. Mrs. A, wife of Mr. A. Mrs. A, wife of Mr. A, has given a financial guarantee for a principal amount of debt owed by Mr. X to ABC Limited. Okay, so now Mrs. A, wife of Mr. A, has given a guarantee to ABC Limited for the debt owed by Mr. X. So it's kind of, there is ABC Limited. Okay, they have given a loan to whom? ABC Limited has given a loan to whom? Mr. X. And there is Mrs. A, wife of CA Mr. A. What has Mrs. A done? Given guarantee. Okay, so can I say that who has given guarantee to the company? Your relative. You, your relative or your partner should not have given a guarantee to the company for the debt of third person. Okay, so Mrs. A is wife of CA Mr. A. Now your wife means your relative has given a guarantee to the company for amount of rupees 6 lakhs. Is it exceeding 1 lakh? Yeah, but pay attention. X has repaid 5 lakh to ABC 2 days before the appointment. So your wife has given a guarantee. Has given a guarantee for 6 lakh. But X has repaid how much? 5 lakh. When? Before appointment. On the date of appointment, how much is the debt pending? How much is the guarantee pending? 1 lakh. Debt only is 1 lakh. So guarantee is also 1 lakh. So now debt is 1 lakh. My wife cannot be called upon to pay 6 lakh. Because debt is only 1 lakh. So now guarantee pending is also 1 lakh. Okay, does it exceed 1 lakh? No, it does not exceed 1 lakh. Is the appointment valid or not valid? Valid. Is the appointment valid or not valid? Answer is valid. The answer is not disqualified. As guarantee amount on date of appointment. Guarantee amount on date of appointment does not exceed rupees 1 lakh. How much is it? It is 6 lakh minus 5 lakh. It is exactly 1 lakh. Guarantee amount on date of appointment does not exceed rupees 1 lakh. It is exactly 1 lakh. Yes? Okay, now what she is asking is, imagine morning may the debt was repaid, evening may they appoint you. Is it valid, not valid? So out of 6 lakh, morning may that guy paid off 5 lakh, and now evening may they appoint me. Same day. Fine, chalega. So now see, you have to prove the nexus in that way, that morning may it has been paid and evening may basically you are being appointed. That is fine, valid. Clear with this? Okay, now we keep it up to here only because the time is already over. So we are just in section 141. Under that, subsection 1 and 2 was qualification, 3 was disqualification. Under disqualification, we did subclause A, B, C and D. And just remember one simple thing. The hardest part of success is its beginning. The hardest part of success is its beginning. Make sure you begin the things. We are doing very less work. Just make sure you're going and revising. Imagine few illustrations which we have marked 5-7 out of 20, and kind of 2-3 pages are kind of underlined which you need to read. So at least half an hour a day you need to just go home and revise. Once you begin the things, definitely the things will happen. Okay, see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care. And just one more thing. Actually, I tell you, I teach this subject also. I teach FR also. You all know it. Frankly, if someone asks me, there is more coaching required in auditing rather than FR. Auditing is more technical, and seriously, I feel that as a student, we try to take it much lightly. And we are not giving importance to the subject, and that is the reasons why the results are not coming in such subject. So if any of your friend were thinking whether to join, not join, do it themselves, I will always recommend, please tell them to take up the auditing class. Reason, this subject is not easy to interpret. And when you read on your own, you can't interpret in that much detail. Okay, bye-bye, take care, see you all tomorrow.